Hello everyone, myself Binod Pandey, and today we are here to discuss about the difference between boiling and evaporation. I hope that you all are in good health and good condition. So let's begin with the topic boiling versus evaporation. Now, when we are talking about boiling versus evaporation, people are bit confused. So let's clear our confusion. So here in the picture we can see here in first picture here this represents boiling, and in second picture here it is represented for evaporation. So when we are talking about boiling here, the vapor pressure is equal to the atmospheric pressure. But when we are talking about evaporation, so in case of evaporation, what happens in case of evaporation, vapor pressure is smaller than the atmospheric pressure. That's why bubbles cannot form. But when we are talking about boiling, here we can clearly show that bubbles are formed. Why bubbles are formed? Because vapor pressure are equal to the atmospheric pressure. That's why bubbles can be formed, and these bubbles formed will rise. Now, let's discuss about the basic difference between boiling and evaporation. So, the first difference between boiling and evaporation is the boiling process. In this process, what happens? The state of substance. Okay, so when we are talking about substance or starting substance, then the starting substance is liquid in both the condition. Okay, so here in boiling process, what happens? Liquid changes into gaseous state, whereas when we are talking about evaporation, so in case of evaporation, what happens? Again, liquid changes into gaseous state without boiling. Now, the second difference between boiling and evaporation is boiling is a fast process, but evaporation is a slow process. Now, talking about boiling here, during this process, bubbles are formed. Means when boiling takes place, bubbles are formed. But in case of evaporation, no bubbles are formed. We have discussed about the same in previous slide. Now, next point is boiling occurs throughout the liquid. Right? Means what we can see here, here we can see that here boiling is taking place throughout the liquid. Means boiling is taking place throughout these liquid. But when we are talking about the evaporation, so evaporation is limited up to the surface only. Means we cannot observe the evaporation throughout the solution or throughout the liquid. Means evaporation takes place at the surface only, whereas the boiling takes place throughout the liquid. Okay, so I hope this point is clear to all of you. Means we can conclude that evaporation is a surface phenomenon. Okay, now let's come to the next point, that is boiling occurs at a fixed temperature only. Okay, so let's take an example of water. So water boils at 100 degree Celsius only. But when we are talking about the evaporation of water, like water evaporates, okay, water evaporates, seawater evaporates, but there is no 100 degree Celsius condition, but still water changes into vapor phase. So we can conclude that the evaporation process can take place at any temperature. Okay, so when we are talking about the boiling point here, so what happens? The for the boiling purpose, energy source is required. Means we have to provide energy, we have to use some energy source. But when we are talking about evaporation, for the evaporation purpose, the liquid will get the energy from the surrounding. Means we do not need to provide the energy source. Means we do not need to provide heat. Means liquid will absorb energy from the surrounding and it will undergo evaporation. So these are the basic difference between boiling and evaporation. Sometimes students are confused. Okay, so this is the difference between boiling and evaporation. That's all. Thank you.